Today we're on chapter 5, working with new chocolatiers. How many of you got to watch the video link that I sent or joined Molly today on the kickoff to quick start call?
I did not.
Who's I did not?
This is Roxanne. I was not able to watch it. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I did not either.
I did not either.
Really?
Okay, so no one was, it sounds like no one was able to. So what we'll do is we'll go through that. So I just want to give you an idea. I do want you to save that link. There's a couple of things you can use it for. One is if you're not feeling really confident early on, it's something you could actually sit down with your new chocolatier and you could actually, watch it with them, and you can have me do it for you. That's not the best situation, but it would be better than not doing it at all. Some of your upline leaders and managers may have set calls. So please, if you don't know, check with them and find out if they offer that as an option for kickoff to quick start. I know for sure that, let me think. I know that Aubrey's organization offers that. I know Karen Simpson's organization offers that at a set time, which includes numerous managers and upline leaders. Those are the two that I know, right? I know Kim Moynihan's organization offers that. I'm not sure about Ricky Goings and Angie Schmidt's. I'm not sure about Rebecca Mason's and Abby Helen's. I would want you to check into that. Sorry about that. I thought my phone was on silent. I apologize. But this is one thing so what our kickoff to quick start is designed to do is it's a booklet. Most of you that are involved in this call should have actually received this because you're new enough. Janet, I know you've been around a little longer, but you probably got one at either PLC last year or conference. It is a booklet called Kickoff to Quick Start, and it is designed, it's a 10-step program to help new chocolatiers know exactly what they need to do when they get started. And you can just follow right along with that, and that's exactly what I did in the video. The premise behind this booklet is when you have a new chocolatier join, is that you set up a time to go through this with them, and it gives them everything they need to know to get their business off to a quick start without over giving them information. I know I can't remember exactly which one of you it was last night shared with me that, or maybe it was yesterday during the day, that maybe you're giving too much information. This keeps you on track with the right amount, what they exactly need to know. If you are not comfortable yet doing it and your upline leader does not provide it, every single Tuesday at noon Central, 1 Eastern Time, and 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Molly Barber will be offering that. And you can use that as your kickoff to quick start training. Now, ideally, if you're not doing it yourself, you should be joining your chocolatier. You want them to see as your partner. So even if if you're not comfortable offering it, try joining them on that call, whether it's with your upline leader or manager or whether it's Molly. Now, it's always best to use that upline leader or manager. The reason we do it is in case you don't have that support. But your upline leader or manager is best because then they're going to start to feel part of that team. And that's so incredibly important. But another reason to use it would be maybe your upline leader or manager offers it on Monday night or Sunday night, and you have a chocolatier that's joined that has a commitment every single Monday or Sunday or whatever day it is, and they just can't get out of it. So this is another option for them. If they're local, I always get the question, should I go do it with them one-on-one in person? That's kind of a catch-22 question, because here's the thing. I'm a real believer in using Zoom or phone for these types of things, because what it shows them, whether they live next door or they live 2,000 miles from you, you can train them the same. The phone knows no distance. So that is a really good reason to do this by telephone or Zoom. If you do just really have a real strong, maybe you're driving 2 hours to do a launch party and you want to stay and do some training with that new chocolatier, you could do it in person, but remember, when you're on their turf and their home, you do not have control of the environment. So if their doorbell rings and they go stand at the door for 20 minutes and talk to their neighbor next door, what are you going to do? You can't say, hey, you're wasting my time. Whereas if you're going to do it live, I recommend going to an environment you can control, which is normally your home. Because if your doorbell rings, you can choose not to answer it, or you can say, I'm sorry, I'm in a meeting. If your kid is not behaving, you've made plans ahead of time. Whereas if their child's not behaving, you can't say, hey, I'm here and you're wasting my time, right? That'd be really rude. So that's what I like about taking it and doing it via Zoom. I know a lot of people offer it live, and I think that's fantastic. However, if you do, make sure you're in an area where you're controlling the environment of the training, okay? So it means you're on a neutral or your turf. Hold on just a second. I'm going to close my office doors. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, and I want to make sure that no one's disturbed. Sorry about that. Okay. So keep that in mind. This training should only take about 1 hour. If you're doing it really way shorter than an hour, like a half hour, you're probably not giving them enough. If you're spending an hour and a half, you're probably giving them too much. So really try to keep that. And you'll notice that I think when I started my recording, unfortunately, I started it after I started step 1, but I'll do it again sometime. But you'll see, I think it's right at 45 minutes, missing step 1, and there's 10 steps. So you'll see it's right at an hour training. What I've learned is that gives people enough that they feel like it's been worth their while to attend, but it doesn't overwhelm them to the point where you get to a point they're just not even soaking anything else in. So that is what this is all about. When you received your kit, I've heard a couple of different things. I actually sent an email. I just realized I didn't get an answer. I believe most of you probably got one of these, and you maybe got 2 or 3. How many did you guys get in your kit of that Kick Off the Quick Start Guide? 2?
I think I have 2 also.
Okay. Somebody says, I've heard a lot of different, I think 2 is probably the right number. I'm going to double check that. The nice thing about 2 is you can do it with someone, and then when theirs come in, they can give it back to you. So you can always have one to give. But if you want to just have a few extra on hand, you can order them on supply. So ideally what you want to do is if I train, let's say I do this with Sherry, then Sherry gets a new recruit. Sherry does it with her new recruit, and then her new recruit does it with her new recruit. Now, that's not always going to happen. That would be like living in an ideal dream world, and it's not always going to happen. So as the leader, make sure it's being offered. And that's why a lot of our upline leaders and managers do it as an organization. So I know, for example, Karen Simpson's group, Delana's a manager, Karen's a director, or senior manager, Donna, they all take turns, so they all have to do it like one time every 4 or 5 weeks. But they offer it to the entire organization. So that way, if you had a party that night you just couldn't be on, that's okay, but at least you have a place to send your people. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Another thing is when you have someone that comes back to you that tends to be struggling with the basics, they just didn't get their business off to a great start, have them come back to that training. I always say you're going to learn something completely different when you come back to that training, because you've experienced some things then. And things will make more sense to you. Terminology will make more sense. Ideas will make more sense. So if you have someone that's struggling, have them come back and sit through that. In fact, that's why I encourage you not only to go back so you know how to lead it, but to see what new things do you pick up that you didn't pick up the first time. That's a really great thing. Also, if you went through it with your upline leader, go through it with Molly. Watch my video. Even though we're all covering the same book, there's probably little tips of the trade that you're going to get in there that, you know, just are our personal experiences. I can promise you, if you ever come to a training, whether it's at PLC, National Conference, Promote with Passion, one of the Zoom calls that, or one of the calls that the managers offer that's on your homepage, you know, all the different topics that they have, and you don't learn, it's because you don't want to. I've been doing this for 26 years, and I still learn, and it doesn't matter who's training me, whether it's someone that's brand new in the business or it's someone that's been in longer than I have or about the same. If you want to learn, there's an opportunity to learn from every single experience that you have. So a lot of people think, okay, do I set it up weekly? I'm a brand new leader. Well, I think I'm a very scheduled person, so that's what would work best for me. I would just say, okay, so maybe when I'm new and I'm really wanting to build my team fast, I might say, I know that I could do every Tuesday night and every Saturday morning. So if I sign someone up on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, I'm going to say, your quick start training is on Saturday morning. And if I try to sign up on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday before Tuesday night, I'm going to say, your quick start training is Tuesday night. And if they say they can't be there, we'll say, well, no problem, because then I offer it again on Saturday morning. So instead of, because here's what's going to happen. If you ask a new recruit, when are you available? It's kind of like asking someone, when do they want to have a party? You don't want to do that, because they're going to choose a time that doesn't work for you, and then you're going to go, well, I don't do it then. If you get a new job today, they're not going to say, when do you want to come in for your training? They're going to say, this is when we do our training. You need to be here, right? Now, again, I probably wouldn't choose Tuesday because I know Molly does it on Tuesday. So I might choose Sundays and Wednesdays, and if they can't do Sunday or Wednesday, then I'd offer them Tuesday with Molly, and if they can't do one of those 3 days, they're probably not very interested in getting in on the training, right? If you give them that many choices and they cannot make themselves available, then they're probably not that interested, and that's okay. So, you know, we've all got to know that we can deliver the training, but they do have to have some sense of flexibility. Okay, does anybody have any questions before I keep going here? All right, so if you turn to page 46, we'll quickly, I'm not going to do the training because you can watch the video. I'd rather you have time to get off the call early if we happen to get done early and start watching it, or have time for more questions and talk about some other parts of developing people. But there are 10 parts to the call. Committing to a quick start. And during that, I really review the quick start program. And one thing that I want to make sure that all of you are aware of is that part of the quick start program never ends. And that is the part where you get the matching Cocoa Cash bonus. That's the only piece of the quick start bonus that never ever ends. Every time, every single time, you have a chocolatier that's in Quick Start that recruits someone and earns their $100, $125, or $150 bonus, their recruiter gets a matching Cocoa Cash bonus. Ladies and gentlemen, or just ladies, we don't have any gentlemen on, I don't think, on tonight. This is huge. If you really take advantage of that, you should never pay for a product. You should never pay for a conference registration. You should never pay for a catalog. That means your full profit is going into your bank, not into building your business or supporting your business. Don't you believe that the owner of McDonald's would love it if the franchise owner would love it if the corporation came and said, hey, if you do this, this, and this, we're going to pay your rent this month. And if you do this, this, and this, we're going to pay for all the buns that you need. If you do this, this, and this, or we're going to, pay for all the burgers. They don't. This is a huge income stream to have coming to you, and it never, ever ends. Does everybody understand that matching bonus program? And if you're the only one that does it, don't be afraid to say me, because you need to understand this. Going, gone. Okay, that means everybody knows. So we review the Quick Start program. Next, we teach them how to plan their schedule. And what I do here is I have them go to the page of their Kickoff to Quick Start guide, where it has, I think it's a 7-week, just blank. I think it's like 49 squares, 7 by 7. And I have them pull their last day of their 45th day. So let's say their last day is January 5th, which is a Tuesday. So I have them go to the last Tuesday and put January 5th. That's probably, and then I have them backtrack their calendar. And then I ask them how many of their Miss Brown coupons, the 8 $20 Miss Brown coupons that you get for people doing a party for you in your first 45 days. And let's say they have 7 left. Then I say, I want you to pick out between 7 and 9. Actually, I want you to pick out 9 available time slots between today and the last day of your 45 days that you can do parties. And this is a great time that I remind them. That doesn't mean it has to be 9 different days. It has 9 time slots. They could do a party at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, a party at 1 o'clock on Saturday, a party at 5 o'clock on Saturday. They could have one day and get 3 time slots in. They could do a lunchtime party on a Tuesday and an evening party on a Tuesday. They could do a happy hour party on Friday and an 8 o'clock party on Friday. So you don't necessarily have to have as many days as you have coupons. You need as many time slots plus a few, okay? So I'm teaching them how to plan their schedule, how to have calendar control. If they haven't had their business launch, that's the first party we want to put on there. However, it doesn't mean it's the first party they have to hold. So a lot of people say, well, my house is under, my kitchen's under construction and it won't be ready for 4 weeks. Well, don't wait 4 weeks to hold your first party. Just do your launch then. As you're calling people and introducing your business, and there's great word choices in this under number 5, scheduling your first 6 parties. Go ahead and put them in before you. And anyone that says they can't have their party, then you invite them to your launch. And remember, I've never met anyone yet that's invited 30 to 40 people to their launch like we recommend that's had 100% show up. On average, a third to a fourth show up. So if I invite 40 and a fourth shows up, that means 10. That means 30 didn't show up. That means there's still 30 people that can come to another party, and you could do one the very next week or 2. I'm sure y'all have heard the rumor that you need to load up your calendar the first 2 weeks of January. Have y'all heard that rumor out there? There's a rumor out there John Wyckoff has started that's really telling people, make sure you load up your first 2 weeks of January. So how many of your new recruits could relaunch the first week of January to book parties into the second week of January? How many can have a party between Christmas and New Year's when maybe other people don't want to host as often? Remember, there's also different religions that don't celebrate the same holidays as we do. If you have a group of Jewish friends, their Hanukkah is going to be prior to our Christmas. So having their party after their Hanukkah ends could be a great time. Jehovah's Witness, they don't celebrate the secular holidays. So the 25th to them is just like any day. So having a party on the 26th would be just fine with them if you're available, or the 24th or whatever. You can do it. So keep that in mind. Don't just sell yourself short. Every one of you, if you've not earned Maui, you can still do it. Now, you've got to believe you can do it, and you've got to put forth the effort to do it, but you can still do it. Teach them to create their contact list. There's some great tools in there. Teach them, very important to teach them about training and how important training is, but that no training is good enough that is better than doing it. So you can go to every training there is and still not be a successful chocolatier, because if you don't put it to work, it doesn't matter how well trained you are. Teach them how to share about their business by making their 30-second commercial, telling people what they do, not who they are. Meaning, I'm a chocolatier is who I am. What I do is I provide a great venue for people to get together, have fun, eat fabulous products, and shop from their seat instead of their feet. That would be a great 30-second commercial. And then talk about setting goals and dreaming big. There's no big goal that's too big. There's really not. Now, the time frame might be off a little, but the goal's not too big. So make sure you're talking to that, and then taking their first steps to maximizing their earning. And that's where you tell them a little bit about leadership or Maui and moving and using that quick start, the sales piece, the recruiting piece, and that matching Cocoa Cash piece. Go back and reinforce that, because that's where the really, really strong chocolatiers are going to come from. And on page 47, it just kind of takes you through what I just told you about. So you're actually going to see page 46 in the Kickoff to Quick Start guide, and page 47 starts some thought processes for you of how to deliver that. So does anybody have any questions about Kickoff to Quick Start and how to deliver it? Okay, so then it's important to continue to stay engaged. So one of the most important things that, I can't remember if we talked about this or if it was a different coaching call, and so stop me so I go like this. Did we talk about how, I think we did, I think it was actually 2 weeks ago, we talked about how people, like if you were to join a new church and they said, call me if you need anything. Did we talk about that? But you don't call them because you kind of just feel that's that obligatory thing the first time you go. And then did we talk about, we did it?
I don't remember that.
Okay. So let me talk to you a little bit about building a relationship. This is so incredibly important. Honestly, if you can master building relationships, you'll have the best business in the entire world, because that's all this business is really building relationships. And if you can book, you can recruit. If you can recruit, you can develop, and it'll repeat itself. Oh, and you can host as coach. It's the exact same process, and it's all about getting to know people and building relationships. So when I've moved, one of the things that's really important to my family is that we find a church to be involved in. And that's not always a super easy thing. And I'm pretty darn outgoing, if you haven't figured that out yet. But not everybody is like me, and I still struggle in that area. So even take someone like myself, and you can apply this to a church, you can apply it to a new club, even a new job, actually. And that's exactly what they're doing. But I'm going to use the church scenario. So I'm new to town, and I decided to visit this church. There's a great church, and I go to my Sunday school class, and everybody's warm and welcoming, and Janet's there, and she goes, well, Laurie, if you need anything this week, you just call me. We want to be here. We want to help you and support you and get you feeling, really settled into our community, whether you come to church here or not, right? Well, thank you, Janet. That's great. So that week, something comes up. let's say I need a babysitter. I don't know what it is. Do you really think I'm going to pick up the phone and call Janet? No, because even though she was kind, that first time someone says to us, call me, it's kind of that we feel like they say it almost in an obligatory way, like, oh, call me, please, you know. We don't have a relationship to really know if it's sincere, do we? All right, so we go to church that week. We go back to that same church because we really did like it. And I start talking to Janet. She makes her way over, and she's just really friendly again. And somehow it comes up that, you know, I was needing a babysitter that week and blah, blah. And she's going to say to me, well, why didn't you call me? I told you to call me if you needed anything, right? That's what's going to happen. And I'm going, I know, but that was so nice of you. But, you know, I didn't want to bother you. And anyway, she said, no, but I'm really serious. So then the next week, something comes up and I need something else. And I think, well, Janet told me to call her. But, you know, I just don't know. That's kind of awkward and weird. And I don't call her again. So because I'm still not sure if Janet really is saying that because she means it or if she's just being nice. She's just saying what she's supposed to say. So let's backstep a little. So let's say I visit that church, and on Monday, after I visit on Sunday, Janet, who I made a connection with, calls me and said, you know what, Lori, I just want to thank you for coming to our church. I do want to remind you, if there's anything you need this week, you know, and it's not about you being part of us as a group, if there's anything you need, I really do want to be there to, you know, help you out. I know what it's like to be new. I've been new in a community, and I'm like, that's really great. Well, that week, maybe I need a babysitter. I probably still wouldn't call Janet because it's that first time. But let's say then I see her on Sunday and she says, hey, Lori, the next week. And she says, there's a ladies event on Friday night. How about you and I go together? I'd love to pick you up. We can have coffee beforehand, and then we can go hang out and we can get to know each other better. Oh, yeah, that sounds really great. Well, then, if I need a babysitter, even if it's before or after that event, I feel like Janet really wants to get to know me. And so I might actually call her because she's reached out. She's invited me to do something. She's made a connection. She's maybe even called again. That's how we have to treat new chocolatiers. So if we get a new chocolatier on our team and we go, well, call me if you need anything, how many of them are going to call? They think you're being obligatory. But if you call and say, hey, I just want to check in and make sure that, you know, you've gotten your website set up and you started talking to your friends, what are they saying? Tell me, what are they talking about? Then they're getting a little more comfortable. And then you say, oh, by the way, we have team meeting next month or next week. What if you and I plan to grab a light dinner ahead of time and then go to the meeting together? I'd love to have you not only there as my new chocolatier, but be able to introduce you to everybody. Now I'm starting to think, hey, she thinks I'm valuable. And then maybe after 3 times of that, I think, you know what, I really could call her if I needed something. And I just might do that. So it is your responsibility to do all the outgoing building of the relationship for at least, I would say, 3, 4, 5 times. Now, somebody like me will probably respond 2 or 3 times. Lori's a little shyer than me, right, Lori? You're a little shyer than I am, aren't you? Lori, it might take me 3 times. It might take Lori 5 times. Janet's a little more like I am. Janet probably is going to respond maybe on 2 or 3. So different people are going to respond, but you need to own that. And that's why I usually set that up for like the first, say, at least 45 days. I never say, call me, I'll call you. Now, I hope of course, I'm always going to say, now, don't forget, you can always reach out to me, but I'll give you a call back in 2 or 3 days to see how that party went. Or I'll give you a call back to see how many, phone calls you made. But don't forget, in the meantime, if you need something between now and then, call me. But it takes time. So today I talked to a brand new chocolatier. And, well, she's not brand new. She's been in maybe 3 weeks. And I said to her, would you like to call me or do you want me to call you? And she actually said, would you call me? Now, quite honestly, if Janet and I were setting up a time to talk, we have a relationship. So I'm going to say to Janet, you call me. Why do I do that? Because that means Janet has to be planning to talk to me. She can't be walking out of the grocery store aisle and go, oh, I was supposed to have a call with Lori. Whereas if I call her, she could be walking out of the grocery store aisle and not prepared. But in the beginning, you should be doing all the reach out. You take control of building that relationship. You've all heard me say, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And this is the way you do that. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? All right, going on. We're going to move on. So as you go after that, you want to continue having check-in calls with people. How do you know when you should have like an ongoing call? That's when that person is really stepping up and really showing, you know, they're expressing interest. They're calling you. They're reaching out. If you're having, you know, 3 months from now, if you're having to do all the reach out, or 4 months from now, they probably aren't that interested in building. They're probably very happy with where they're at. That doesn't mean they're not going to be very successful. It just might mean they don't really want to pursue anything faster. You're going to start to notice who's that person on your team that really wants to grow. The person that's responding to the team's Facebook page. They're sharing ideas. When you call them, they're prepared for their call. They're booking parties. They're coming to team meeting. They're offering to be involved. Their offering may not be to do a training, but it might be, would you like me to bring, you know, the snack for tonight? Or would you like me to be there early to help you organize? Everybody has a different role. I can't see so many of you. I hate this, but of the few that I can see, how many of you like to be the person that gets there early and like helps set up? Any of you? All right. So Sherry says, I like to be that person. How many of you like to be the person that's in front of everybody, telling everybody, you know, sharing your best ideas? Who likes to be the trainer? Any of you? Janet saying a little bit maybe? I love doing that, you know. How many of you want to be kind of in the background? Maybe doing like separating stuff? I kind of figured that was you, Lori. You know what? Everybody, all of those roles have to be done. And if every week I make sure every month that Lori has something to help me with and organize, guess what? She's always going to be at team meeting. And guess what? If Sherry always knows that she's going to kind of be my greeter and welcome people and do name badges and that type of thing, she's always going to be there. And if I give Janet a role, whether it's a training or to bring a recipe and just share a quick tip, she's always going to be there because they feel needed. So the only way you can do that is by getting to know people. You can't guess that, right? So it's very important you get to know people. It's so incredibly important. Any questions on that? Now, you'll see on pages 48 through 51, it gives you a lot of topics. Now, as your team grows, one of the greatest things to do is offer, so let's say Janet calls me and she's like, Lori, I really need help on booking parties. Well, first off, if Janet's been really involved, I'm going to say, okay, let's set up a time. If Janet hasn't been to team meeting, Janet hasn't come to any training calls, Janet has stood me up 3 times and she was supposed to meet me at a party, I'm not going to set up a one-on-one time with Janet because she's not proven herself worthy of that because I've already given her that opportunity. We got some really strong background noise. But let's say Janet does do all that and she's still really struggling. I'll say, Janet, how about you and I get on a call? And if you don't mind, I'm just going to let our team know and see if anybody else is struggling in that same area that they can, you know, need help in that, and they can join us. If I'm going to train Janet, why wouldn't I have everybody else join me, right? Remember working smarter, not harder? But if Janet's not been doing all that, I'm going to say, well, Janet, you know what? Look, I want you to look on the Dove calendar, and I want you to find a training that's on booking. And tell me when it is, and commit to going to it. And after you go to it, send me your top 3 ideas, and then we'll set up a time to talk more. So what I'm doing is I'm making her accountable. So if she doesn't do that, then she's not really interested. She's just wanting to, some attention, quite honestly. So that's a great thing. So look for ways to work smarter, not harder, even with your training. Now, that's not to say that sometimes you're not going to have one-on-one calls, because definitely you are. But if it's something that you think, I've had people call me and say, hey, Lori, would you do like a Zoom opportunity meeting for me? I have 2 people that want to know about the business opportunity. Sure, but do you mind if I just go ahead and let your entire team know about that? So instead of just 2, we might have 6, right? It doesn't hurt. It's not going to take away from their 2. So those are ways to really use this, but this gives you different things. Overcoming hesitations, the full service checkout, what we talked about in chapter 1. Hostess coaching and booking, we also talked about in chapter 1. Planning for what they want in their business, we talked about that. Chapter 1 was a real busy chapter. Selling in bundles. If you're not the expert, there's some great trainings online. I actually have a video. If you would like that training, I can send it to you on how to upsell it and use the bundles more effectively. But you're at the beginning, you can do a lot of one-on-one, but as your team grows and you have 200 people, you can't have a one-on-one call with everyone. So that's where you're going to find having weekly. But I will tell you, anyone that is staying really engaged in your business, and engaged is not necessarily they need to be selling 1,000 or they need to be doing this. Now, they do need to be selling. Just coming to team meeting every month doesn't mean they're engaged. That means they're wanting to be part of a club. Because if they're not putting to work what they learn, then just let them keep coming to team meeting and send them a nice note and call them every month or 2 and tell them how glad you are, because that's all they want. But if they're selling, holding parties every month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're trying to do cocoa chats, they engage on your Facebook page, they share with other people, you should be having probably, when your team is 10 people or under, reach out to them at least once a week. Now, does it always have to be a phone call? No. Right now, this very moment, look what I have on my desk. I have cards. I keep cards on my desk all the time. So you might call them one week, send a card the next week, meet for coffee one week, see them at team meeting the next. That's a way to have a contact every week without having to have a call every week. I don't believe an email is really a contact, by the way. It's not very personal. I don't even believe a Facebook message. A text is probably more personal, but give them something that they can hold on to. Y'all learn about me. I'm a card person. I love cards. Don't you love going to your mailbox? Think about this time of year of being Christmas. Like today, I opened 3 Christmas cards. Okay, I had probably 4 either bills or junk mails and 3 Christmas cards. What did I open first? The 3 Christmas cards, right? Because they made me smile. I always use colored envelopes if at all possible. I actually went to Office Depot or Walmart actually, and bought colored envelopes. If I can't find them for my cards, now I have envelopes to put them in. Because it draws your attention. It makes you smile. You know it's not a bill. So far, my electric company has not invested in bright colored envelopes, and neither has my water company or any of those, or the city of Arlington. But it makes people smile. I do silly things. I put confetti in mine because I think even though it's a pain in the neck, I just saw Sherry roll her eyes. She must have gotten something, and the confetti went everywhere. I have a joke now that I put on the back of Ricky Goings. Don't forget there's confetti, because she said she always opens it in the car and it's all over her car. But you know what? It's frustrating. It's kind of a silly frustration, but it also is a smiling frustration, right? It's fun. The electric company didn't put any confetti in your card. It means I thought about you, right? I took time to put my hand in that bag of confetti, and it's probably sitting here on my desk too, and put it in there. I've drawn pictures on envelopes. I put silly stickers on envelopes. I use the Dollar Tree to the extreme just to make life a little more fun. Why not? Right? Somebody's got to do it. These are ways to engage with your team. And again, the best way to develop a strong team is to engage with them. So Vanessa O'Rourke is one of our top leaders in our business. And it'll be 2 years ago, February, her business was pretty flat. She was making about $1,500 a month, but Vanessa came from an industry where she was making about $200,000 a year. So $1,500 a month wasn't really cutting it for her family. And she'd put enough money away to stay home with her daughter for 5 years. And that 5 years had come and gone, and her husband was getting a little antsy, wanting her to think about going back to work, bringing in the big bucks. And so Vanessa's like, I've got to make a change. And Vanessa will tell you the biggest change she made in her business was starting to build connections. Vanessa's the one that got me I taught her about doing cards, but she taught me about doing it daily. So we always put it off, right? Oh, I want to write her a card. So what she does is the first thing she does every morning is she writes one card. Very first thing before her kids even leave for school, because they take it to the mailbox for her. And that's kind of like her accountability, because Riley or Zach is going to say, can I take the card to the mailbox? And that simple little step, just saying, hey, I've missed talking to you, or great party last week, or so glad you attended team meeting, or so glad you're part of my team, really was something that turned her business around, because it started making her aware of how little she was focusing on building relationships, but she was trying to build the business without building the relationship. So I encourage you, find something. Cards are easy and they're cheap. 2 for $1 at the Dollar Tree. Just buy stacks of them. Congratulations, birthday. So one day it might be a birthday card to someone. The next day it might be a congratulations. The next day it might be miss talking to you. The next day is I'm glad you're my friend. The next time it might be thank you for bringing the snack to our team meeting. As your team grows, you might decide to do 2 cards a day. But it'll make sure that and if your team's not big enough, send one to your upline. Send one to someone else on your team. I will tell you, I send cards to our home office staff still, and I'm part of our home office staff. But a lot of times I just feel like, hey, I want them to know I think of them too. I send cards to just friends. I keep cards on my desk. My postage bill is probably one of the biggest parts of my expense report every single month. But I believe that's what's made the original Bravo region so cohesive. Sometimes it's something silly. It might be, you might get a magic wand in the mail, or you might get, a tiki hut plaque, because we're talking about Maui, or a flip-flop just randomly laying in your mailbox. You never know, but it's fun. And it says, I took the time and I care about you. And the last thing that I really want to talk about is, before we run out of time here, is using the party as your real place to build. Remember we talked about this early on, never go anywhere alone. Travel with a partner. Let them see you in action. You may take them to a party because they think they need to learn how to do a party, but they leave learning how to recruit, or they leave learning how to build a relationship with a hostess, or they leave, that's another person. I always, when I was an independent, I never left a driveway without writing my hostess's thank you note. Because if I wrote it in her driveway, I knew it would happen. And it was fresh on my mind. So I left my house with cards in my briefcase, stamped and addressed, and I wrote a very personal card to her that said something personal about her party. And just as a reminder when we kick off our next incentive trip, and it's not too late to do this. Not only did I write a thank you note, but if there was a trip going on, I had a thank you note and I had a thank you card for helping me earn my trip. So as soon as the trip started, I have a party with Sherry. I'd write, "Dear Sherry, thank you so much for helping me earn my trip." And then I'd stamp it and put it on my desk. Then Janet, I'd write her one. And then Leanne, I'd write her one. And then Michelle, I'd write her one. And Heather. And on the day I earned my trip, they'd all be sitting here, maybe 100 or 150 of them, written, stamped, ready to go. And all I had to do was drop them in the mailbox. I was never, ever going to go back and write all those. But I am just too cheap to let a 50-cent stamp go to waste. And if I had 100 of them sitting there, by golly, it was an affirmation every time I wrote one. Thank you for helping me earn my trip. I wrote that day one. And I just stacked them up and I went to the mailbox and dropped them in. So maybe last year we did something called Sweet Shop. Maybe we have something like that in the future, or a trip, or you're in Quick Start. You can even use it for that. Start writing them and just saving them till you earn it, because you're never going to go back and write 100 cards. I promise you're not. If you do, then you'll be out of business that month because you'll be too busy writing cards, and that's not smart. So again, building relationships. Do you think I ever lost hostesses? I didn't, because I took time to show them I cared. I handwrote a thank you note the day of their party. I put it in a mailbox near their house, which usually meant they got it sometimes within a day. And they were just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know. And I would make them personal. And those are just really the things that I want you to focus on. You'll see questions and thought starters for your training weekly coaching calls on booking, low attendance, low sales. The best way to do a training call, once you've taught somebody something once, the second time and further on, is to ask questions. So if somebody says, I'm struggling with booking, well, let's talk about it. Where are you working the most on your bookings? On your parties, outside your parties, you know, they're having low attendance. So what are the word choices you use to plan for a large attendance when you were host coaching? Where did you host coach? The day before, how many did she say she was coming? What walks of life were they coming from? You know, ask questions. Don't say you should, because they'll just go, and they don't do any of it. Ask questions so they're thinking for themselves. So we have about 3 minutes left or 5 minutes left before we need to wrap up. Does anybody have any questions? So next week will be our final training. We'll still have our coaching call for all of you that participate next Monday night, just like normal. And then we'll wrap up. And then if you are interested in being part of an ongoing coaching group starting in the new year, I'll do my best to put you in one. You can go ahead and start sending me your requests now if you know, like, hey, I like this. I like being part of a weekly, or most of my coaching groups are twice a month, not necessarily bi-weekly because it depends on my travel schedule. You can send me anyone and say, hey, I want to continue this into the new year. Please, you know, include me. And I'll start looking for a place to include you. Now, if you're not a leader, I'll be honest, it's going to be harder. If you're the higher rank you are, the easier it is for me to put you in a group, mainly because I have to give, you know, I have to give my leaders and senior leaders and them time. So if you aren't a leader, let's get you there. Because quite honestly, this is the very last month that you can qualify for that $300 bonus. If you're a team leader, this is the very last month that you can qualify for that $400 gift card for becoming a senior team leader and getting paid December, January, and February at title. However, if you're still not either, you can actually promote to senior team leader and senior team leader this month and double dip and get paid December, January, and February as a senior team leader, which would encompass team leader, and get $700. So If you're really committed to doing that and you and I have not developed a plan, please send me an email tonight. I am locking down my schedule and my work before I go on vacation for the holidays and before you do as well. And I want to know where we're at and how I can support you and how I can guide your upline leaders. Okay? All right, everybody. Any last minute questions? Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up.